And welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P-Bush. How are you guys doing?
A little depressed, man, if I'm being completely honest. I know we're not talking about him in depth tonight, but rest in peace, Nick Chubb, man. Absolutely horrifying injury to see him go through. Such a nice guy, consistent fantasy dude, always giving 15, even when he doesn't score touchdowns, man. He's got all the scrimmage yards you could hope for. And yeah, my RB1, he's in one of my leagues, I should say. He's out for the season. Pretty guaranteed, 99.999%. Sorry, team now, Zoo. I think you and I were talking about that last night, man. The Browns are just going to be even worse to watch at this point. Granted, the Steelers' defense, to their credit, is pretty damn good.
Yep.
With TJ Watt running at the helm there. Minka Fitzpatrick kind of shoring up the secondary there. And then obviously, man, got to say it, the Bears still suck, man. Love. Let's start tanking even more. That's what I'm saying. I'm on the tankathon train now. Earlier rather than later, man. But they got to do something because coaching, everybody's off kilter. Coaching, players, GM, everybody. Just got to wipe the slate clean, man.
It's embarrassing because watching them, man, they're probably the worst team in the NFL right now.
They're up there with the Texans and the Cardinals, man. Yep. It's sad.
Yeah.
It is sad, man. I got one fantasy team with Nick Chubb and Cooper Kupp, so rest in peace that team. The team is dead already, man. I already wrote that team off, man. So these injury bugs right now, especially this week, a lot of running backs injured, significant running backs like Saquon had an injury. Obviously, Nick Chubb with the season-ending injury. So running backs falling like flies right now. Like, there's only a couple left that's like healthy. So, man, the RB position is getting massacred, and it's only week 2.
And now
we're going on to week 3 right now, so it's early football right now, which is crazy.
And now we see why a lot of teams are holding out on giving RBs big ass contracts. This is exactly what they're worried about. So sometimes you blame them, and then you see why, and it makes a little bit more sense.
Very volatile position. Not gonna lie, if I was an owner, general manager, to your point, P-Bush, I don't know if I'm just handing over that 3 or 4 year deal, man. I might hesitate, give you a little franchise tag here and there, and maybe give you a 1 year deal. And quick shout out to one of the players in my 14 team league. I just realized, because when we were just talking about running backs and the depth of running backs and how the waiver wire is going to be, I just saw that he has Saquon and Nick Chubb. So I'm thinking to myself, like, maybe his philosophy going into next year, and I was kind of saying this to Zoo, is like he's just going to stay away from RBs. Like, he's just going to draft all receivers and maybe just take the bottom of the basement type running backs in his draft next year. So shout out to him. But man,
that's tough.
Yeah, very tough. But brutal. You know, with
in 1 week,
yeah, that's insane. Listen. Last year for me, I lost Breece Hall and Javonte Williams, so I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy, and I somehow made the playoffs.
I bet those were his first 2 picks, though.
That's his first round.
That's the issue.
Probably so.
That is brutal.
Looking at this roster, definitely probably was his first 2 picks. But
man,
yeah, he's gonna have to. Maybe Saquon can bounce back in the timeline of 3 weeks, but we'll see.
Yep.
Like I said, it's breeder season. but breeder. But anyways, so looking into week 2, you know, there are some teams that we have noticed in the NFL slate that are surprising 2-0. So I want to get the guys' opinions on who is the most surprising 2-0 team. And P-Bush, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I feel like Zoo's going to go with one team here. So he's got some stake in one of these teams. But that's a surprising 2-0. But I'm actually going to go with the Commanders, man. Here's a team that you want to talk about a tough division to be 2-0 in and still be looking up at 2 of the best teams in the league right now, and that's the Eagles and the Cowboys. I mean, for how well the Commanders have started off the season, first of all, Sam Howell, Sean, I think you were one of the first people to point out that he could be a little electric for this team, a bit of a Taylor Heineke 2.0 for this Commanders team. He's been playing his ass off, man. I mean, he had a great game against the Broncos. I actually really wanted to shout out their resilience because the Broncos got off to a hot start with that bomb down the field to Marvin Mims Jr., Brandon Johnson, another kind of quiet, no-name guy on the Broncos, was stepping up when, Judy and Sutton were kind of garnering a lot of the coverage. Javonte Williams didn't really do much against the Commanders. I would say the Commanders actually do have a great defensive front line, Chase Young obviously being the anchor there. but I've been most impressed with Brian Robinson Jr., man. I just traded for him in my dynasty league. He's on a cheap contract. I was desperate after that J.K. Dobbins. And, man, I couldn't have had a more beautiful week to have as a – welcome to the dynasty team, Brian Robinson Jr. Single-handedly saved me this week. He runs really hard. I know he kind of had an inefficient week 1, but he clearly gets a lot of the red zone touches when they do decide to run the ball. Antonio Gibson kind of gets that, third down check down every once in a while. But you got to look. They also have 2 solid receivers in McLaurin and Dotson. So, do I see this team making a push between the Eagles and Cowboys to win the NFC East? Probably not. And we know that whichever one doesn't win the division is going to be garnering probably the top wild card spot in the NFC between the Eagles and Cowboys. So Commanders, it's obviously very early. I'm sure they'll to Zoo's classic quote, they will regress to the mean, man. It's going to happen, especially when they get into the division opponent games. And we'll see. I mean, I've just been very impressed more so, I guess, with Sam Howell and his composure as well as his athletic ability, especially in this Broncos game that they almost threw away, except they got away with a nice PI that did not get called on that 2-point conversion, in my humble opinion. I thought Sutton actually got hit a bit early there. So they're just denying Russ cooking, man. It's okay. Broncos Nation, join the Chicago Bears in actually, their situation might even be worse than Chicago.
No, their
Bears.
situation is worse because Russell Wilson
so
has not even hit his contract yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a scary thought.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Oof.
So tough one there.
Jeez.
I know they're on the opposite of the 0-2 or the 2-0 spectrum, but yeah, man, definitely been surprised with the Commanders' resiliency in the first two.
Yeah, especially their offense. Like they're putting up a lot of points. Like Bieniemy, the former KC offensive coordinator, implementing a lot of Chiefs plays out there. So like their offense has been cooking right now. So yeah, good for the Commanders for getting it done, especially with the new quarterback. But man, for me, man, the one team that I'm like, 2-0, huh? Bijan Robinson, Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons. Because watching, because on paper, I'm looking at the quarterback, Desmond Ridder, bottom 5 quarterback right there in the NFL. He's a bottom 5 quarterback, even though he got some weapons. Like Drake London, obviously, with his game 1 of a donut, second game, he actually got a touchdown, got a lot more targets, and then he obviously got Kyle Pitts, which best tight end prospect ever, but they don't really utilize him. And this offense, yeah, I'm like in this offense, they're going a 2-headed committee right now because Algier right now is still getting a bunch of touches, and Bijan looking like the best running back in football outside of Christian McCaffrey. Like this guy's number 2 right now, I think, in the NFL as the at the RB position because he plays both the pass catching back and he could be the bruiser guy because the guy's got McCaffrey. The guy's got jukes for days, man. I swear to God, his ability to stop on a dime and cut and create separation for a running back, this guy is extremely, extremely talented. And man, game 1 though, what I learned in the game 1 with that team, Panthers is a bye week, man. It's one of the worst teams in the NFL, man. The Carolina Panthers,
perfect. Bears have their pick, man.
I'm telling you, that pick. Like I don't know. Did the guy know they got this is that Danny Ainge trade, man. No protection, man. None. No condoms, man. It's a dangerous situation. It's a dangerous situation. Just imagine if they're one of like the 2 bottom worst, or at worst they finished the worst record in NFL. Caleb Williams gets shipped to. My goodness, and that is very, very possible because right now they're in a division that has a couple of 2-0 teams right now.
Yeah,
a couple of them. So they're playing well. So obviously they got to play each other. And if they keep losing like this, because like Bryce Young right now, he's a rookie quarterback, so I can't really judge him right now. But obviously rookie quarterbacks struggle year 1. Even great quarterbacks in the future, rookies struggle. And this guy's just got no weapons. Like Adam Thielen, nice little veteran quarterback. Mingo is a nice little rookie wide receiver trying to develop this guy. Like I'm just like in the running game, Miles Sanders. I still don't know why they paid Miles Sanders so much money to be such an average running back. Like, and that offensive line is not good at all. So obviously Atlanta got it done in the week 1, man. But week 2 against the Packers, man, I was shocked they got the win.
Yep,
I was shocked because they had to make a nice little comeback at the end. Yep. And like Desmond Ridder, like having to throw the football. Yeah, he threw
got it done.
He threw for like 200 plus, like 230 yards. Yeah, with week 1, he had 115 yards. So obviously, game manager blew them out. Makes sense. He's not that good. But throwing for 237, okay, that's not bad at all. 237, obviously not the most efficient. He threw an interception, but QBR of 71. and got down against this Packers team.
Rushing touchdown?
Yeah, he hit that nice little move. He's a nice little runner.
Mm-hmm.
He's a smart little runner.
Yeah, he's decent, yeah.
The way he fakes it, obviously, when you got Bijan, a little easier. I don't be selling on Bijan or Mr. Desmond Ridder, man. So, obviously, Bijan's been an absolute monster carrying this team on offense, but Desmond Ridder had to show up a little more against that Packers team. And that Packers team on offense, I got to shout out Jordan Love, man, because he has made significant improvements.
Yeah.
He pretty accurate.
Yeah.
He a little mobile, too. Obviously, he's not like a super athlete, but he a little mobile in the pocket, man. He moves a little. He got a nice little pretty throw down the field. He
looks like he's been sitting
good.
behind Rodgers for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked kind of good because I'm like, it's not like he got some crazy weapons right now because his best weapon, Christian Watson's been out right now.
And Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones missing game 2, so it was just the A.J. Dillon show. So pretty much 2 to 3 yards of carry. He ain't going to be doing
That's all he ever does.
2 to 3 yards of carry and catching no ball. So that is not a real threat. So the guy has to beat it with an arm. And I'm like, Jordan Love, man, he can do a nice little dime. Him and Jaden Reed, the rookie. Mm-hmm. Nice little connection right there. He had a nice little shuffle pass, a nice little running play. They're getting a little chemistry out there. Jordan Love is showing me something, throwing for 3 passing touchdowns.
A little inefficient, but no picks. That's
no interceptions, not making mistakes. He looks calm in the pocket. He's showing high IQ football. I don't think he's the most talented guy, but he's just not doing stupid stuff. And that's I asked for. All I wanted was Jordan Love to be a Jimmy Garoppolo game manager type guy. And right now, he's fulfilling that. He's fulfilling that role right now. Yeah, right now. Oh yeah, he's some of his passes, I'm really impressed with him. From what I saw him 2 years ago in one of his first starts ever when he played in, massive improvements over the offseason. So good for Jordan Love showing that, man. But Atlanta Falcons go up 2-0, man, because I look at this Atlanta team, man, I still think this team is awful. Because Arthur Smith, man, I don't like him as a head coach.
No, he's not.
I just don't like him. Yeah, I know they can't rely on Desmond Ridder, man, but I'm just man, when you're down sometimes, you got to utilize these high draft picks that you guys spending this capital on. If you're going to spend these high draft picks on these weapons, you got to be able to utilize more in more, I would say more in situations and put them in the situations to succeed. Because right now, I don't even know what Kyle Pitts is doing on the roster.
Yeah.
I just don't know what he's doing.
He's just existing.
Using Kyle Pitts, the block, my man, Jesus Christ. You got to be able to utilize your talent around you. And right now, they're using Algier more than Kyle Pitts, so that's all I gotta say. And Algier ain't that
red flag.
Algier's a nice little backup running back. He should not be getting have more impactful touches than Kyle Pitts.
That's going to be an interesting division. We got 3 2-0 teams in that one: Bucks, Saints, and Falcons. Man,
crazy.
I think it's going to be leaning a bit more towards the Bucks and Saints, to be honest, just because of the veteran presence. I think we can all agree on that front. But that's actually going to end up being it's one of those where it's one of the worst divisions in the league talent wise. But it'll still be competitive because everyone's kind of on the same categorical level, except for the Panthers.
Yeah,
so interested to see because there's a lot of good defense. The Saints and Bucks both have legit defenses.
Oh yeah, the Saints. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the Panthers are to Zoo's point about them maybe being the worst team in the league. They might already be there, but they're one Brian Burns trade away from really probably being the worst team in the league. I think if Brian Burns gets traded and they don't do a contract, yeah,
so that trade didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I'm praying it does because, Bears got the pick. So I'll take that, man. If Bears get the top 5 pick and then they get the Panthers pick, that's 2 top 5 picks, man. Right there. Beautiful.
Panthers, man. Who's the GM of the Panthers?
Oh, man.
His resignation letter needs to be in the mail.
Yeah.
Because that's just malpractice.
Exactly. He's already got it written. He just got to change the date once he decides to submit it.
I agree with you, P. Bush, with the Commanders for the most part. That was my number 1 pick. I do think the duo of Scary Terry and Jahan Dotson, them getting more of a wavelength with Sam Howell is going to make Sam Howell be more of a dynamic player. Now, I think there's a ceiling and I think there's a high floor and a small ceiling for Sam Howell, but I do think with him gaining more trust with those 2 receivers and, like you said, Brian Robinson Jr. just going off, I think what they could get to is splitting with the Cowboys. That's their highest. Splitting with the Cowboys and the Eagles, going 1-1. I don't think they could
That'd be a solid
against
year.
either of those teams. Yeah, but if they could split with those 2 teams and then sweep the Giants, I think that would be a really good year for the Commanders. But my second team I was looking at was Baltimore, and that was just because of how they looked after Houston. I was like, I don't think they're going to beat the Bengals. I just did not liked how they looked. Lamar
The
looked out of
Bengals beat
sync.
the Bengals.
Yeah. I was sitting there like, I don't know if this is going to be it's going to be a redemption Joe Burrow game, and Ravens somehow escaped and was able to get to 2-0. And one thing I did like in that game from a Ravens perspective is Lamar with this new offensive coordinator. I do see him throwing the ball to more people. Like Nelson Aguilar got a touchdown. Zay Flowers got a bomb. Mark Andrews got his regular touchdown. Like he's spreading the ball around. And I don't know if that's just Lamar maturing as a passer or if it's just the offense itself. Because if that becomes like a traditional thing with the Ravens where you have Zay Flowers. With Odell, I don't know, man. I think he may have a legendary game like in week 14, but right now I'm not banking on him as being a primary playmaker. But if you have Zay Flowers, Aguilar give you a little bit of something. You got Mark Andrews. I think likely had a pass catch. Like if you start involving these other guys on your roster, I do think the Ravens will be more dynamic because then if somehow they can maybe get, and this is just me being selfish because I have Cam Akers on my bench, like if they can maybe make a trade for him and make him an RB2-ish, then now we got a situation where, okay, I like Gus Edwards. I like Cam Akers. I like Justice Hill, a three-headed monster to go along with Lamar. I like where they can trend in the division because, I know we were just talking about the NFC South, but, with that division, I mean, that game last night, that play, was it in the end of the first quarter where it was like the ball got intercepted and then it got like flipped out of bounds? Like it was just like it was like America's Funniest Home Videos type skit. It just looked crazy. Like I was like, what in the hell? Like I literally turned the game. I was like, I'm not watching this crap. And I picked it back up in like the third quarter. But with this division and like you say, you got the Browns and the Steelers looking crazy, and then who knows what we got with the Bengals and Joe Burrow, his health. I mean, salute to you, Jamar Chase owners, because I know you're a little irritated right now because he looks like he is receiver number 2, and nobody gets that coming into the season. So I think that has to do with Joe Burrow not being healthy.
Oh my God. I'm about to let P-Bush a little bit, man. He had a donut.
Let's go, P-Bush.
He had a donut, and then he had a nice cute little 2-tutty game. He actually looked pretty good. Yeah.
Cute? Come on, man.
The game was over. It was garbage time, man. You got a nice little tutty at the end. Okay.
That was the difference maker, man, for a lot of people.
I don't know. He was displaying his receiver 1 skills. I will say that. But I do think it's early, and I think Joe Burrow's health has something to do with maybe Jamar not being on point with him. So with that division, I like the Ravens, and if they continue to be a team that spreads the ball around and throws it like I know they can, then the sky's the limit for them. So for me, I kind of wanted to transition into some of the 0-2 teams, and quite frankly, the Chargers and the Vikings. I'm sure their fan bases are not panicking, but I do think they are a little worried about how this season is trending. And I guess, Zoo, who should be sounding the alarms, the Chargers or the Vikings?
Yeah, for me, man, with a team this talented, man, I'm telling you, man, what's wrong with the Chargers in close games?
Bingo.
I'm just like, they made history on one of the first teams to score 50 points of the first 2 games, had no turnovers, and they have BO-2. So they're just making history in the wrong ways. Because right now, like, they played against the Dolphins, which they're an elite team right now. Like, on offense, Tua being healthy, that's an elite team. Like, you lose a shootout 36-34. Okay, you put up a good fight. You didn't make any severe errors. You were executing your game plan. Your defense is just not that impressive right now. Okay, that happen. But losing to the Tennessee Titans, when Ryan Tannehill, like the game 4, had 3 interceptions, and you let this brother cook you, man. Like Ryan Tannehill threw some dimes in the game, like a nice little Treylon Burks catch, man, like 70+ yards. Like that was a nice throw. Obviously, King Henry, that guy does what he does. But the Tennessee Titans coming in and beating you, like the Chargers are so talented, and the head coach, this Saley guy, I don't know something about him, but they just can't close games for some reason. Like Justin Herbert, obviously he had a nice little on-paper game, 300+ yards, 2 tutties, 0 interceptions. Like, that's a nice little game. I'm just like, what is going on? And like, hey, they didn't have Eckler, so they couldn't dominate the run game. And obviously, Joshua Kelly's a bum out there, man. No matter how much Austin Eckler shouts him out, man, that dude sucks ass. 3 yards of carry, absolutely dodo bird, man. But Keenan Allen and Herbert, they were cooking.
And Mike Williams had 8 catches.
Yeah, Mike Williams had 12 targets at 83 or 13 targets at 83 yards, man. So they were airing it out.
Yep.
And they were very, very productive on offense. And they had no mistakes, no fumble loss, no interceptions. And you can't beat a Titans team that I would say is not the best offensive team in football. Like, it's more of a defensive, like, bruising type team and dominate the run type style team. And they can't get it done. I'm like, Jesus, I just feel like this team's like snake bitten or something, because like this is a history of losing close games in the last couple of years. Like a lot of similar scenarios where they just doesn't seem like the most clutch teams, and the execution down the stretch. I'm like obviously like they can't get it done in overtime. Like they can't get a field goal for the win. I'm just like, man. I love the Chargers. Like Herbert, I was like, this guy's my dark horse MVP. He's going to be putting up some big numbers, and he has been putting up big numbers. But you ain't winning MVP if you ain't getting W's, man.
Yeah.
Like, so right now the Chargers, obviously, this is a division dominated by the Chiefs, so you got to get some wins to make the playoffs. And I want to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs, see what he could do there. But I don't know if it's the head coach or something. They got a new offensive coordinator, so I don't know who to blame, because like, Jesus Christ, man. Like 0-2, and this team's been – the thing is, they've been playing pretty well, and they're 0-2.
Offensively.
And they're loaded.
Yeah. They're loaded. But you know what? I think the two big things, one, I would – obviously not this year, these 2 weeks. They haven't had any major big plays on offense. I mean, Eckler had the really good game one, but we're talking like a 50-yard bomb down the field to Mike Williams.
A nice little bomb to Keenan.
Yeah, okay, a nice little bomb to Keenan. But they should be big play. Quentin Johnson is not getting any looks whatsoever. He's a big receiver on the opposite of Mike Williams. We know what Keenan Allen can do. The thing that's plagued this team in the past has just been injuries, right? Last year, Eckler was healthy all year, but Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were all out. Well, now Eckler's, it's flipped. The wide receivers are eating, but now Eckler's injured, right? And Herbert's just playing, right? And Herbert had his own injuries last year.
Yep, rib injury.
And what I'm seeing on the defense, they have a hell of a front line, man. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, they got to Tannehill a bunch this past week. But once the Titans started shoring up their pass protection just a little bit, that secondary of the Chargers, man, was getting eaten alive on deep ball plays. I don't know if they're playing up too much, if they're biting on the run because of Derrick Henry, which you obviously have to respect against the Titans. And he did play pretty well against them. Derrick Henry had a nice game after his no-score week 1 performance. So I don't know. I just think they can't click it on all cylinders because of injuries and also just single big misplays that end up costing you a huge possession that ends up being in a 3-point game or a 2-point game against the Dolphins. That's the difference in a tight game like that. So part of it's, I wouldn't say unlucky. I would say there are aspects of it because you can just play better, right? You can read the defenses better. You can execute better. Exactly. But I'm actually a little bit more concerned about the Vikings, man. I know the Chargers got it in a tough division, but the Chiefs are 1-1. The Chiefs are 1-1 right now. They're only a half game back of tying for first right now. I think the Raiders are also 1-1, right? And then you got the Broncos and the Chargers.
Raiders are 2-0.
0-2. Yeah.
Raiders are.
Oh, yeah,
no. Raiders beat. No.
Raiders are 1-1.
1-1. Raiders are
1-1. Yeah. Raiders are 1-1. But yeah, I just think that division there. I just think with Aaron Rodgers going down, and looking at the AFC playoff picture, especially with how the Bengals are playing, the Chargers are still well, and I know it's super early to say this, but they're well within a wild card spot with the Dolphins and Bills kind of being at the top, right? We don't really see any threats outside of whoever wins the AFC South. There's really not going to be a wild card contender coming out of there. It's really down to the Ravens and the Bengals, and based on how the Bengals are playing, I have a little bit more confidence in the Chargers than I do the Bengals, just based on pure play in the first 2 weeks. And I don't know. I just, I think that if the Chiefs win the division, the Chargers are second. I don't see the Raiders playing that well. We saw what happened when they played the Bills this past week. That was a brutal game to watch. Thank God Devontae scored, though. But I don't know. I'm just a little bit more concerned with the Vikings. 7 turnovers in 2 games. 7 turnovers. I know they played the Eagles, and the Eagles have an unbelievable defense, man. But they also lost 2 offensive linemen. The Vikings lost 2 offensive linemen, which affected Madison. It got more pressure on Kirk. Obviously, we know what Justin Jefferson can do. They got the nice big play with Jordan Addison. That's great. But they're also getting torched on defense. Jalen Hurts had that major bomb to Devontae Smith. He was getting AJ Brown didn't get involved.
He was wide open, man.
Absolutely wide open. Devontae looking like a great wide receiver pick this year, if I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit. But the biggest thing for me is how they played against the Bucs, because that was at home. They do have one of the best home crowds in the league, Skull Nation. And Baker Mayfield came in and just took game one. I don't know if that just kind of depleted their confidence. Obviously, they did make it a little bit of a game against the Eagles, but to me, it really wasn't within reach. But, man, if your offensive line continues to be banged up and Kirk Cousins is already one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league, what do you think Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa are going to do this week? So if I'm looking at this game, I think this Chargers-Vikings matchup on Sunday is a must-win game for both teams. It is in Minnesota. I think the Vikings might be -1.5, so Vegas has
even odds right now. Even odds.
So really, the Chargers are favored, really, right on the road.
Yep.
And I think the Chargers will come away with this one. I think they just have so many weapons. If Eckler plays, I'm not sure of his status at this point. I can't speak to that. But it's not like the Vikings have been major run stoppers as a team. We saw what the Eagles were doing. They literally just ran the ball the whole game against the Vikings. It was boring to watch at points. But look what that opened up down the field when Devontae Smith is able to surpass his corner because they're so worried about, DeAndre Swift dropping 26 fantasy points on them. So I just think this Vikings team is a little bit sounded the alarm. The Lions look pretty legit. The Packers are now no joke, in my opinion. So it's not like the division's a clean slate other than the Bears. So I don't know. I guess I'm just a little bit more concerned with the Vikings at this point. And that also has to do with Madison. He's not.
Yeah, Alexander Madison.
He might be an RB2.
He's looking more like RB3, man. That dude's awful, man.
No,
that
dude's awful in like real life, not as a fantasy.
Let's clarify this because we don't want another Kenneth Walker discussion here like we did last year. RB2 is in like he should be a backup, Zoo. Honestly.
Yeah, he should be a backup.
Oh yeah.
Fantasy,
yeah. In fantasy,
I didn't even touch it. Yeah.
Alexander Madison, when he fumbled that, I'm just man, this guy sucks. Like every time he runs, man, just got no juice in him, man. Just got no juice. Every time it's like a yard. Yeah, the O-line's obviously not the best. Like, just got no juice. Like Alexander Madison struggled. And the turnovers for the Vikings, man.
7.
You can't stay on the field if you.
Dude, those fumble losses, man. Holy crap, man. Like I've never seen a team turn over the ball so many times in a game, and they were still in it. Like, so it was still a game with all those freebies that they gave to the Eagles. So I'm just like. They're just killing them. They're shooting themselves in the foot. And obviously, Kirk Cousins having a kind of a nice little start to the year. Obviously, his team's not doing so well.
For the 4 fumbles, yeah.
Yeah, the fumble. Man,
he's playing better in prime time.
He is playing better.
No, he threw some dimes, man, to Addison and Justin
That one
Kelly.
Addison was crazy.
If I'm being honest, Zoo, I am petrified if I'm Kirk Cousins this week with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack both coming at me on either sides with that O-line. That just does not give me any reassurance as a quarterback.
It is interesting that that's even odds, though. Like the lines, even like that's.
Well, they're both 0-2. They both have high-powered offenses. They're saying the Chargers are favored by 1. Really?
I think with the Chargers, and I don't believe in this philosophy because, like, I always feel like you should match your quarterback, especially if it's a young one, with like how the game's trending, which is like an offensive mind. So, like, if you have a head coach, I would rather him have an offensive background. But I always wonder because of how talented Justin Herbert is, because when he came into the league, like he came guns blazing. Like I don't even think he had like a Mac, like what Bryce Young is going through now. I don't think he had that.
Oh no,
like he came in on point. So I'm almost wondering, like, and I know they had Anthony Lynn as the defensive guy, like he's a defensive coach, but I almost wonder if they did get rid of Anthony Lynn, maybe they could have hired another defensive coach that's a really good mastermind to get the most out of their defense. Because I do think on the back end, they have the names, but they're just not clicking. Like they had a lot of long completions, like I guess you can say in the Tennessee Titans game happened to them. And I feel like J.C. Jackson, I know he was like a Pro Bowl caliber guy. I guess I don't know if he was all pro. I know they have Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James. They have guys back there who are, upper echelon players. And I just wonder maybe if they had a defensive coach that could maybe hone in on that side of the ball and get them playing. I feel like I'm trying to like a Jets level defense. If they got him playing to a Jets level defense, then I kind of almost feel like Herbert, especially how he came into the league, he may be a tick below what he is now, but I still think that would be good enough to where that team would be more complete. To where if they had a defensive coach, he could really, really shore up that side of the ball, and then just hire Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator. Just have him as he is now, but I'm just saying if he was an offensive coordinator, you run the offense. Yep. If he just had him, I still think that offense would be able to put up numbers and then be more balanced as a team. And I kind of feel like, to your point, two people, it's like you drafted Quentin Johnston. Like, I feel like he should be in more 3 receiver sets with that guys. You got Keenan Allen in the slot. Like, they, and it's not to say the offense has been bad, but it just seems like they're not executing it at the right time. And I do think the Vikings have more long-term issues, but it's shameful that the Chargers went to overtime with the Tennessee Titans, who I'm not very high on. And in that division, I know we're down on Denver. The Raiders, I feel like, can go either way, and you have Kansas City. You can't just be giving up these games, even though they're not division games. Like these games in the, I guess you call them out of conference. You need to win these games because AFC is competitive. Like, and I know the Bengals, they look kind of shaky because we don't know what Joe Burrow's going to do. But a lot of these teams could just come out of nowhere, and it could be the end of September. And you're looking at a 1-3 or a 1-4 start, and you're like, what the hell? Like now we got to fight for our lives, and the only way we can get back into this is if we win games in the division. And if you're looking at division, you're like, I know we're down on Denver, but like Denver, I think has only lost with a combined 3 or 4 points. Like they haven't got blown out in their games. Right. So it's kind of like Russ maybe just needs one. Like if they would have won that game Sunday, I think that could have gave Denver a lot of momentum, but they didn't. So, maybe they can put their foot or proverbial, their feet on the proverbial neck of the Denver Broncos. But I don't know, man. I think the Chargers is kind of feeling like another, 10-7, 9-8, like a weird that in that range. And I feel like if you're in that range again, you got to start looking at the head coach like, okay, bro, like, what are we doing? You have a generational quarterback. I mean, Austin Eckler's hurt right now, but you got a all-pro type running back. Like, what are we doing? So I would say I would trend more towards the Chargers.
Keenan Allen's probably on his last couple seasons too. I mean,
yeah, he's been in the league for a minute.
Mr. Consistent, him and Mike Evans, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Mike Evans. I listened last week sitting him. I played him this past week. Yeah, he turned up for me. He turned up for me for sure. I was like, yeah, you're never going on my bench again. Even if I get pissed at him, I'll be like, look, you'll go from receiver 2 to flex just to learn a lesson, and then if you do it again, you go back to receiver 2. Like he's never coming to my lineup again. I'm not doing it. But yeah. So that was our thoughts on the 0-2 teams and their starts. But now we get to our favorite part of the program, and that is our best bets. Got a shout out Zoo again. He's doing up. Listen, man, Zoo, I'm telling you guys, if you listen to this podcast, audio, visual, you gotta tune in to our bets because we're trying to get you guys rich, man. Shout out to Zoo. You had Kansas City, right?
Oh yeah, easy cover, man. Only 3-point spread, man. Got up to 3.5, but covered that also. So
got a little
even though the game was a little closer than I thought, but like I'm watching the Jags and their offense is just absolute garbage. So like they couldn't score at all. Like Trevor Lawrence had an off game. Like the game wasn't even competitive. Like even the Chiefs defense, man.
Chris Jones, he's back.
He's back.
Yeah.
Their defense actually it might be a top 10 defense this year.
No, it might be for real. Like I don't think
scary.
there's an aberration. Yeah,
this is scary because the offense they're not there yet, and they got so if they get their offense tuned up, oh Lord, have mercy, man.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, but, unfortunately, I am 0-2 on these. But as I've said, man, Zoo's the lock bet. You want the upside bet, you go with the anytime touchdown parlays, man. You just got to hit 1 out of every 3. So, week 3, man. You ready, Zoo?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Keenan Allen against the Vikings.
Okay,
They've been just getting absolutely torched. Got Kelsey versus the Bears. Boom, right there.
Oh, yeah.
And then Kyron Williams against the Bengals. All right, I got those 3. Now, obviously, as we know last week, the odds are not set, but there are a lot of good estimates out there. As of right now, a lot of people have Keenan, and it's going to be in the very low plus, kind of plus 110 potentially, just because he's always sharing targets with a couple other guys. Also depends if Eckler plays. Kelsey probably going to be around the minus 110, minus 120 range, just because he is coming back. He did get a lot of looks, but as you said, Zoo, Chiefs offense is not where it needs to be right yet, so he's not priced in at the Christian McCaffrey minus 290 level at this point to score a touchdown. And then Kyren Williams, man, I think Vegas learned their lesson. I think they had him at plus 290 to score last week, and this man puts up 2 against, and rightfully so for Vegas. They were
against the Niners, man. Holy cow! Yeah,
but breaking this down, Kyren, he's going up against the Bengals, who one gave up a great first week to Nick Chubb. He obviously didn't score, partially due to just the inclement weather. They were also just blowing him out, right? So they didn't need to be punishing Nick Chubb. Unfortunately, they had to do that last night. So I like Kyren in that game. I think he's primed to score. He's kind of the value, but he's obviously shown pretty good track record to score. Kelsey versus Bears, like I said, that's pretty much that's a given, just because of the read zone, man. They love to throw to him. We know what they're looking for. They got the shovel pass. You can throw him a fade. You can pretty much do anything you want with Travis Kelsey in the red zone. And lastly, Keenan Allen, Mr. Target Share himself, man. He just gets so many looks. Justin Herbert trusts him more than anybody. And in the red zone, they don't really have anyone better to throw the ball to. Even though Mike Williams has the height, there's just nothing like Keenan Allen that can just run around and get wide open for Justin Herbert. So I think that does, keep an eye out to see where Eckler's at, just for touchdown share purposes. But I just think that the way the Vikings have been giving up points, the passing game is going to be wide open, because we know the rushing game is going to be eating it up against that Vikings team, which is going to open down the field for the Chargers. So those are the 3 this week.
Interesting. Yeah. I definitely agree with Kelsey against your Bears, man.
Oh, of course, man. That's easy. I know my team. And
there's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs, man. That's all I got to say. There's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs against that defense. So there's going to be a lot of offensive opportunities.
Watch that be the first Bears win this year against the Chiefs.
Okay.
That'd be just poetic.
12 point. Currently right now, it was pretty disrespectful. At its peak, it was at 13.5-point spread. Now they got it down to a little 12-point spread, so not as bad. When I saw 13.5, I was just like, man, no respect to the Bears at all. 2 touchdowns. I'm like, totally get it, because this is the Chiefs, man. But man, oh man, this week for the spread pick, man, trying to go over that 3-0 right now, man. Not gonna lie, the first 2 weeks, man, it's been a little easy, man. They've been covering it easy, man. But looking at some of these spreads, a lot of bigger spreads, man. I like my spreads a little nicer, man. Nice little in the middle, man. But this is a guy that I was a little high on this year because of the upside, the unknown. But after watching him play football Monday night, man, I'm fading this dude the rest of the year, man. His name's Deshaun Watson, because he is washed.
You take that back, Zoo.
I'm telling you, watching Deshaun Watson play football, man, hurts my eyes. It hurts my eyes. This guy's decision-making, this guy's athletic. Even he just looks mentally slow in the pocket. He's inaccurate. He's like touching the ref, lying about touching the ref. Does that off the field, now on the field about the touching. Like, Jesus Christ, man. I'm telling you, Deshaun Watson, man, I have in one of my fantasy lineups. Man, I think about benching his ass and picking up Jordan Love, man. Because I'm telling you,
did that last week,
dude. I'm telling you, Deshaun Watson, my goodness, he went from being an elite quarterback, he's not even average. I think he's below average quarterback. You gotta agree, Deshaun Watson, he's a below average quarterback right now in the NFL.
He padded his numbers towards the end of the game last night when they were trying.
He threw a nice little 10-yard pass. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. There's some passes, he throws it down. If he just chucking it out of bounds, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, this guy is wild.
His timing doesn't look. He don't look on. He just looks. Elijah, he's not on with Elijah at all.
Oh yeah, I'm just the chemistry of this players, and it's just the inaccuracy, and I feel like the IQ. He just lost something after the incident. I feel like he just lost something about
confidence, maybe.
Exactly, and maybe it's confidence.
Chubb.
Yeah, and
so I'm guessing you're down on the Browns, Zoo.
Oh, I am very bearish on the Browns right now. After watching that abysmal last night, my goodness, that was some bad football. Because right now they're at home, so right now Vegas give them the 3-point favorites over the Tennessee Titans, man. But my goodness, Tennessee Titans, man. The thing about the Tennessee Titans, they ain't gonna win pretty.
No,
they're never gonna win pretty.
Vrabel.
And right now, the Cleveland Browns' best offensive player was Nick Chubb, and they lost him for the entire year. Like this Ford kid, he might be a nice little player, but no. He ain't no Nick Chubb, who was probably a top 3 running back. And the way they dominate the ground game, and Nick Chubb last night, man, he was averaging like 5-6 yards a carry before he got injured. Like he was cooking. Like Ford obviously had the big run, and then they blew the game against the Steelers team that, my goodness, their offense is also abysmal. So I'm looking at this Titans defense against this pathetic Browns offense, and I feel like they could lock them down. And if you look at this Titans team, all they do is play in close games, man. Like the first game's against the Saints. Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions, and they only lost by 1 point. That was like the worst Tannehill game ever, and it was still a ball game because their defense and their running attack is just one of those things. Like they're running at dominating like possession, and then Tannehill just got to make one nice little pass to DeAndre Hopkins or Burks, man. Just one. I'm not asking for 300. I'm asking for 200 yards and no mistakes. I'm asking for a game manager, and that's all you'll need against this Cleveland Browns offense. Because Jesus Christ, man.
Yep.
Even the play calling, man. My goodness, I'm just down on the Browns. I'm down on the Browns, and obviously the Steelers' defense are absolutely legit. Like the Watt is back, healthy, looking great as ever. Got his first touchdown. Shout out to him. But my goodness, and
broke the sack record, I think, for the Steelers.
Broke the sack record, yeah. So obviously that was an elite defense, but I also think this Tennessee Titans has a legit defense too. So I feel like they ground and pound, dominate possession of ball, because Deshaun Watson, man, he's going to have to be throwing the football a lot more without Nick Chubb. And I just don't believe him as a passer anymore. He's just not that guy. Like him and Elijah Moore. Lamar Cooper actually had a nice little game with the hamstring injury. Like he played, he had 90 yards. So he actually he runs some nice routes. He has some nice jukes for a guy that wasn't fully healthy. So they just got to focus on Amari Cooper locking him up, because I'm like Peoples Jones, Elijah Moore. And a Ford, the backup running back. I just feel like offense, man, they're just not going to have enough juice on offense. And all I need is the Tennessee Titans to score 18 points. And I feel like they can get it done against this Cleveland Browns offense. Yeah. So I ain't fading the Browns, man.
Is that at the Browns or is that?
It's at the Browns. It's at Cleveland.
Cleveland, yeah.
It's at Cleveland. That's why they have the 3-point favorite, pretty much the home field advantage.
It's even
game based on Vegas. So I'm taking the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Listen, I have stock all around the league. I feel good about my Love stock. I feel good about my Kenneth Walker stock. Sean stock, not fading that stock just yet. I'm holding, as they say in, I guess, the stock world. I'm holding on that stock. But the Chubb injury is not making me feel good at all, because I respect Jerome Ford. Pierre Strong is another guy behind him, whatever. But yeah, man, when you was watching Chubb, just like he is outside of pass catching, he's just, like Zeus said, he's just a natural pure runner, not having that element of the offense. Unless they make a trade, it's going to be tough, because I need Deshaun to get on page again, selfishly, for my fantasy league. He needs to get something going with Elijah Moore, because I kept seeing a lot too last night. Moore's getting into the backfield, but it was never like a pitch to Moore. It was always like a fake motion, just a handoff to the running back, and you had Moore going back and forth. And it's like, can we get a couple carries? Can we get a couple of screen passes for my boy Moore? So maybe that's in the game plan in the next couple of weeks, but they're going to have to involve him more, because, like you said, man, Jerome Ford had that long run. He looked explosive, but he feels like it's just, that was just a, once in a lifetime type of run for him. And I don't think he's going to be doing that every other game. So, yeah, I kind of like that bet. And that was our segment for that. So if you guys are listening, make sure you cash in on that so you can win yourself some money. But, for the pod itself, make sure you listen to us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. Make sure you watch us on YouTube, Quantrill Knows, Instagram, bullheaded_pod. Make sure when you do subscribe to us to give us a like, give us a 5-star rating, so that can go up in the algorithms and more people can listen to us. And for me, Zoo and P. Bush, we are out.